Hello everybody, EDCS 820, Diversity in the Curriculum, and by invitation, the students from 726 as well who need to consider concepts of diversity to put into their dissertation proposals. So while I'm going to be addressing the 820 class specifically in this particular set of short videos in answer to the first week's posts, I am inviting 726 to watch as well if they're interested in finding out more about diversity issues and also seeing what the 820 course is all about. First of all, let me state briefly about the posts. Some of you have noted that I am not the easiest marker in the world. I am not. So just submitting a post is not automatically 25 points. There is a standard, and that standard is what I tell you in the syllabus, what I tell you in these videos, and what I announce in my announcements. Sometimes the posts have specific prompts. Many times they don't. It's just react to the readings. If you are asked to react to the readings, please react to the readings. That means that you should probably pick an article that you really, really like, let it be the centerpiece of what you're writing, and then make reference to all the others as you need to, all of which shows me that you have read the material, and then work with it in relating it to your own professional practice. That is the standard by which I basically judge these, and it is consistent with what is in the syllabus and what I have told you before. So it does kind of evolve, but it stays close to the original text that you find in the syllabus. And we do I revise the syllabus from term to term as I teach it. That's the rubric I use. All right, you'll notice that I'm not asking you to attach rubrics to anything. I am less concerned about the rubric than I am about you being able to get from me through these videos, through the syllabus, and through my announcements what you need to know in order to be able to do the kind of writing that will yield good grades. Let's remember that your program also is intended to be rigorous. And I think most of you have bought into the program and are actually doing the reading. I think some of you who are not are probably simply distracted by life. You have kids, you're just starting school again, you're coming down from a vacation, there may be family issues, maybe you have some sick kids, maybe relatives have come in, maybe you have a sick relative, as I've had students tell me that it has happened to them, and I've given extensions, and the occasional incomplete. So those things do happen, I understand that. But by and large, you really need to be in the weeds of the reading because you're going to need it for the final exam, which is conceptual. It's not like a typical multiple choice test that you would give in high school where so-and-so said, what? Here are the 4 things. And then it's very easy for you to look it up. It's going to be conceptual from all over the place, and as I put together the test, I will not identify mostly who said what about what, unless I want you to explain, pick the best answer, so to speak. And the whole purpose of that is for you to be able to deal with the concepts rather than just memorizing facts. Anybody can look up facts. So when I say that the test is open book, this is not, and it's multiple choice, this is not a test of your ability to find a fact in the reading. All right? If you have marked your book up, whether it be this one or the readings for diversity and social justice, which is the one for this course, then you should be able to do okay and be able to thumb through because the test is timed. And it is straight 100%. And there is no extra credit. So it will be fair for you, and it'll be a good experience if you do the reading in detail. And you read, mark, and inwardly learn. So we got a good 8 weeks to do this, of which there are 7 left. Let's see, now this is the end of the second week. Take that back, 6 weeks. That's plenty of time to get things done. It really is. And many of you, at least, have a draft that you have been working on as far as your disc prop is concerned. So even though the disc prop, you add to it, you're adding diversity elements, you're following the suggestions I have made in red, you're following our little changes that we make as the 4 professors in the program to make it more like the action research it is supposed to be. Here I have Mertler's book, the wonderful book. You should all have a copy of this, and you should make constant reference to it. There's nothing in here that he says that is inconsistent with what I have been telling you. Nothing. Everything. This is good. This is good stuff. All right? So I would definitely use Mertler in conjunction with what I tell you about APA style and about the specifics of what we want you to do in the program, like adding a social justice element, which is a very important component in your disc prop, and one of the reasons why we have 4 courses that are required of the 9 that deal with diversity issues. When I talk about 9, I'm talking about the ones other than the research courses. So it's an important part of the program. It's just the way we've conceived of it. This program is action research, classroom-based, building-based. It's not a document study, although you can add that element if you wish to your disc prop. I certainly did. I studied documents as part of my dissertation. That's one of the ways I triangulated. So there are different ways of triangulating, and when I say triangulating, I don't mean triangulating in this strict social science approach where one would normally expect certain things to go with one another when it comes to how you approach a particular problem. You can look at yours and pick the measures that you feel are going to work for you in getting the information that you need. If somebody's reading your dissertation proposal, your dissertation that is finally done, about what needs to be done in your school, you've done action research, you want to solve this problem, you're probably going to need people in authority to go along with you in its implementation, right? Then you better have some good reasons for them to stick their necks out. Because what you're asking people to do is stick their neck out and support you in what it is you would like to do. So have as much support for it as possible. I think that makes sense. I think that absolutely makes sense. By the way, how do you like my Carolina shirt? We won last night. Yes. This is the sort of thing that warms my heart. I just enjoy seeing USC win. And it was a close win, and there were some really, really interesting moments. I happened to be out at Gold's on Forest Drive here in Columbia, Forest Acres, lifting and watching it at the same time. And when USC finally won at the very end, even though it was kind of an anticlimactic ending to the whole thing, we were all clapping because it's our hometown school, the University of South Carolina. We're very proud of it. And let's hope that this is a harbinger of good things to come. Not just for USC, but also good luck, you might say, for you as well. Your school year started well. I hope everybody's doing well in school and that the kids are behaving and that you've got a particularly good group of students who are just ready to learn. And if you're an administrator, the kids are ready to behave and stay out of your hair. And also, if you're an administrator, the teachers won't do like what the geese did in Murphy's little chapter in the Ed Leadership book. All come into your office at the same time squawking and then leaving what on the rug for you to clean up. All right? And, of course, those pest strips. Make certain that the pest strips in the bathrooms have been changed, administrators, and that you have done textbooks in such a way as not to annoy teachers, particularly advanced placement teachers who do not like late textbooks. They don't. They've got a program to carry out. It's not one that they've determined. It's one that's been imposed on them by the College Board. I used to teach advanced placement, and I remember when we used to handle our own ordering. When I was at Hilton Head High School, I taught AP Spanish for several years. And I remember we used to handle our own ordering at our $50, from the state. And we used to do that, and I would shepherd it through and make certain I had those books on the first day. All right, because I gave them to the kids. They were consumables. So, now, although you don't have to buy consumables, but I'm getting away from things here. Now, for those of you in 726, this particular book here also has some really, really good stuff about the current chapter you're in, Leadership for Social Justice. That section of the book needs to be read carefully. Read about the G quotient, which sustained a lot of conversation with the current 820 group. I also recommend this particular book here, Grappling with Diversity. We're going to fit it in somewhere. This is the one that I co-wrote with Susan and Rhonda and a few others, Dennis Carlson, who's no longer with us, and a few others, concerning various issues on civil rights pedagogy and critical multiculturalism, which is my area. So your professors have little pet areas where they've done a lot of research, where they consider themselves to have certain measure of expertise. If I can be said to have any expertise, it is in the area of diversity studies, critical multiculturalism, those things. That's where I've done a lot of my reading, research, and thinking. All right, and I intend to do more. I wanted to tell both groups about this. As you are coping with issues of the Confederate flag coming down, and kids coping with the tragedy in Charleston, and the ongoing way South Carolina is dealing with these diversity issues and multiculturalism, let me know what you guys are doing. I'd like to do a collaborative research project with you during the course of this year to be published at the end of next year where everybody would get some credit. And I want to know, basically, what is South Carolina doing out there in the field, in your schools, which are all over the state, and a few of you are out of state. What are you doing to cope with these diversity issues that we are talking about so much and harping upon in this particular class? So, one last thing, too, about posts. Occasionally, I make a mistake. It does happen. I had a student who contacted me about me totally misinterpreting what she was saying. I got the exact opposite out of her reading that she had intended, and she kind of squawked politely about it and said, "That's not what I meant." So I went back and reread it, and I said, "Yeah, you're right. I don't know how I got that reading out of it. 25 out of 25. You did a good job." So sometimes that happens. So if you see me utterly misinterpreting you, you can clarify it and say, "That's not what I meant." And then I will deal with it and adjust accordingly. I do post grades, but I do make adjustments when I feel that I'm wrong. Right? When I feel that I'm wrong or I haven't considered everything, sometimes I will ask you when I think you're way, way off at the deep end, simply to repost, because I know you've done the work and you've turned in something on time, so I give you extra time to repost. So repostings are possible. So if you see that you have a 20 or less, I want to say less than 22, and you would like to do a repost, just send me an email and say, "I'd like to add blah, 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 blah," and just add it, and then say, "Would you consider this?" And if you've addressed my concerns, I'll bump up your grade. Absolutely. I mean, it's not like, the thing I'm concerned about is, are you doing the reading? Are you getting things done on time? Are you making an effort? And when I see that students are reading, all right, marking, and inwardly learning, then I accommodate them. Okay, that is my little watch phrase, you might say. And I got it from Thomas Cranmer and the Book of Common Prayer, which I happen to consider one of the three great classics of literature in English. You know what the first two are, right? The Bible, the King James Version of the Bible, is the greatest work of English literature. And I say English literature, even though it's a translation from Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek into English. It is a work of art in and of itself, and I think many of you would agree. Some of you have taken the Bible as lit. You can be totally secular, non-religious, agnostic, atheist, whatever, or a totally different religious background, and still appreciate the importance of that book culturally and in terms of literary style for English, for the English language. And the other is the works of Shakespeare, of course, and then the Book of Common Prayer. Those are the three. They're magisterial in terms of style. And you can think of one of our great presidents, Abraham Lincoln. What did he do? He got a lot of his lilting cadences, his diction, his style, the way he wrote and spoke from Shakespeare and the Bible. I don't know whether he used the Book of Common Prayer, but I know he did that. He was one of those who was kind of like a typical American in that sense. He was a pragmatist. He approached religion pragmatically. He had his own faith, his own development of what to believe and how to believe. A bit unorthodox, but as Americans, we tend to be pragmatists who are unorthodox. We say that we don't compromise, and we say that we don't do this and we don't do that, but it's a rare day that we don't truly compromise, which leads me into the first diversity issue. Before I get into your EDCS 820 comments, all the positive things I got out of your reading, and again, 726, listen to as much of this as you want, and then just cut it off when you're tired of it. I've already given you 5 posts for this week. I call my posts, my video posts, I've already put 70 minutes up for you as it is. I'm not intending to do as much here with EDCS 820, but we will have probably 3. And we're getting close to the first one. A lot of issues in the news that are directly relevant to what we are talking about in this class. Think of the Kentucky clerk, right? Who is now sitting in jail because she believes that she has to take a stand on religious faith, not to give gay people, certificates of marriage or marriage licenses, even though the Supreme Court requires her to do it. And it's a good civics lesson right now. To what extent does the court have the right to make law? Well, we know that courts make case law, and case law is common law. And there are 2 kinds of law in this country. There's statutory law, which is democratically arrived at through the legislative process, and there is common law, which is derived through the considered decisions of the courts at all levels. Both parts of the law are essential in the United States. We don't just have statutory law in this country. We have that tradition of English common law. And the Supreme Court decision, it fits squarely within that tradition and the right of the courts to review the monarch's decisions and policies, and Parliament and its decisions and policies as well. This concept of judicial review was not invented by our founding fathers. It was, however, something that our Supreme Court, through the way it was constituted by the founders, eventually took up fairly early as a right and a prerogative under the traditions of English law, that in a democracy, in a democratic republic, there is that third branch that is able to say, whoa, something here is not right. You're going off in the wrong direction here. You're enacting laws that are contrary to the fundamental essence of what our law is and what our Constitution is. And that's why we have judicial review, and that's why the Supreme Court makes decisions sometimes that people don't like. I'll come right back at you.